Government plans to allow Fletcher Jennings to build the hospital and contract Healthcare of Australia to operate it have been under fire for months. Following investigations into the contract between the companies and the government, non-aligned independent MPs John Hatton, Clover Moore and Peter MacDonald pledged to introduce a private members' bill to stop the government signing the contract. Now, opposition health spokesman Andrew Refshaugi says the opposition will not accept the signing of a privatisation contract if Parliament blocks the $50 million proposal. But a spokesman for Healthcare of Australia says he has a government undertaking that a contract will be signed regardless of any vote against it. Dr Refshaugi says if Premier Nick Greiner is so arrogant and blinkered to defy the will of Parliament and the will of the people in Port Macquarie, he will face censure.
It's times like these, when the Pacific Highway is blocked by accidents near Bulahdelah, that the Lakes Way gets a workout.
The road is cut at the highway, then we get unbelievable trucks and traffic through this area, and it just does terrible, terrible damage to the Lakes Way.
The road is a favoured traffic diversion route, but it's suffering. Council's been trying to arrange an opportunity to tell Roads Minister Wal Murray about the poor condition of the road, but has had no answer. While part of the road was upgraded last year, Council says still more is needed to make it safe.
It's just so important that we have a link road into the Foster-Tungurri that people can travel safely. There's trucks, caravans, cars, everybody exceeding the speed limit, and there's just got to be a safe way in.
The Save Our Rail campaigners may have been on the platform at Newcastle station today, but their lobbying was aimed at getting people to a meeting 30 minutes up the track at East Maitland. The opponents of state government plans to cut the line at the Civic are joining with the Maitland and Hunter Valley Commuters Association for a public meeting from 7:30 tonight. And while Newcastle may be at the other end of the line, Save Our Rail says Maitland people are furious about the proposed cutting of the link.
It's going to make it harder for them to get to the beaches, to the hospital.
Judging by Maitland commuters' responses today, they want no changes to a link that many see as more of a lifeline than a rail line.
I don't like it. Not at all. I don't think they've looked into it far enough.
It's a bit of an inconvenience having to catch the bus.
We'd have to walk a long way, I suppose.
The Commuters Association will be putting to the meeting at East Maitland Bowling Club a proposal for opposition leader Bob Carr to push in Parliament for the rail line to be retained. The association believes with a by-election hovering over Maitland, the rail debate is set to become a hot state political issue. Scott Bevan, NBN News.
Two people were busy at work on a block at Lambton this morning when their calculations on felling a huge tree went amiss. The large gum was off target, demolishing a next-door neighbour's new garage and crashing into his home.
I said to the next-door neighbour that it'd probably go the other way knowing my luck, and it did.
Chris Garner, an owner-builder, has been spending all his spare time for the past year building his house and now faces the disheartening task of clearing the wreckage and starting anew. The garage was insured, but the house was not. Police have been informed. And the latest addition to the Tomago aluminium smelter struck trouble in its delivery today. A 300-tonne transformer landed at Newcastle Harbour earlier this week and was then taken by barge up the Hunter River, but became bogged after it was loaded onto its 92-wheel ride. After a delicate extraction, the giant was eventually freed and on its way to its new home at the smelter.
Kim Barker had just returned to her Mayfield home and unloaded her two small children from their car seats. Her briefcase, containing among other valuable items an original William Dobell self-caricature, was gone when she returned for it. The sketch, similar to this one given to her sister, was pencilled more than 30 years ago by the famous artist, then a family friend.
Something that I probably would hand down to my children, and I just hope that it hasn't disappeared.
Kim has appealed to anyone who can help her locate the sketch to contact the Mayfield police, who are investigating the matter.
Each year in New South Wales are up to 14 serious accidents involving trailers. 2 or 3 people are killed. The Stay Safe Parliamentary Committee could not comment on yesterday's accident, but says lives are being needlessly lost.
I think we probably take trailers a bit for granted, and when we do, I think problems can arise.
Today, police released the name of a 52-year-old woman who was killed yesterday in a crash involving a runaway trailer at Wallsend. She was Glenys Ray Gleeson, the mother of David Gleeson, singer in rock band Screaming Jets. 6 months ago, the Stay Safe Committee began an inquiry into trailer and caravan accidents. The complete findings from that study will be made public in the next 2 months.
It may have been raining outside today, but that was nothing compared to the storm being blown up by 700 musicians inside Newcastle City Hall. 17 bands brought their brass and big breath from the Central Coast and the Upper Hunter, as well as musicians from around Newcastle and Lake Macquarie. Those puckering up and playing were aged from 10 to 70, tackling everything from foot-stomping showstoppers to lively Latin. And it seems brass bands rarely run out of puff. The championships have been going all day and into the night.
Federal National Party leader Tim Fischer and his state counterpart Wal Murray spent time familiarising themselves with the club's plans and inspecting work completed to date. The club's design focuses on a maritime theme and features the mould of the world-famous maxi yacht Windward Passage 2 as a special yacht bar. The project is scheduled to be completed and operating by Easter next year. While Mr Murray gave the project his seal of approval, Tim Fischer believes the club will be an important facility servicing the growing tourism industry of the Mid-North Coast. Catherine Lamond, NBN News.
"55 players from Brisbane to Kempsey once again made the journey to Alstonville for the annual Masters Squash Championships, with all age divisions being contested. Most players are using these championships as a lead up to the national titles to be held at Tweed Heads in September, and also to keep reminding the selectors that good performances could see them in the Aussie team for a test series against New Zealand. Cheryl Woodlands and Wendy Walsh contested the women's over 40 division and turned on a thriller, Woodlands of Byron Bay getting up in 5 sets. It's not your average little jog around the park, but a punishing 3-kilometre climb straight up White Street from Bicentennial Park to the top of Tamworth Lookout. 101 athletes of various levels of fitness attempted the 12th King of the Mountain, and 18-year-old Daniel Green was hoping to retain his crown. He got away to a flying start, only Jason Orchard able to go with him. At the halfway mark, Green had scooted away and went on to record a stunning win in only 11.5 minutes. Matt Risotto was second and Orchard third. 13-year-old Cara Webb of Wooloman won the ladies section.
For more than 6 hours today, 45 couples tapped, wiggled and swayed their way through a smorgasbord of dance routines. Competitors ranged in age from under 8 through to seniors. While some sambered, others tried their hand at the Pride of Erin. While dancers tried to impress the judges with their footwork, their outfits dazzled the 400 onlookers. There were 71 events in all, including the quick step, the gypsy tap and the lively cha-cha.
Of the starters, a sprinkling of solid performers, including Coxon's teammates Peter Sunderland and Andrew Dorr, and they were joined by former Australian junior representative Steve McMahon from Casino, triathlete Chris Doherty of Armidale, and Strong Coffs Harbour riders Matt Batty and Darren Sheridan. These riders contested the A-grade division of the 104-kilometre Classic, and a departure from previous years. Today's race finished at Arara due to roadworks. Out on the road, a slight headwind made racing difficult, and a big pack was able to work together, although there was one keen cyclist who made a small break heading up a hill. He was able to open up a bit of a gap, but it was inevitable that the following pack would pick him up. From open road to bridge crossings, the racers cycled on, and it wasn't until the closing stages that Coxon was able to grab an opportunity and caught the rest napping, sprinting home to win in just on 3 hours.
Ted has spent years researching his subject since escaping from the life of a draftsman in Sydney and adopting a new lifestyle and a new style of visual expression.
I just learned by watching other artists, by seeing, I wonder how he did it, how did he get that effect? And I've gone the whole gambit of building up from original line drawings, where I was first trained, into teaching myself full oils or acrylics or what have you.
He has a lifelong enthusiasm for the ships of the period from Cook to Nelson, and for Captain James Cook in particular, having been born just kilometres from his birthplace in Yorkshire.
If you want to paint landscapes and people and ships, what better subject have you got than Cook and his voyages around the world?
And the artist is looking for authenticity not only just in the subject of his paintings.
In creating history, you have to try to get back to original method of painting from the period. And so I paint essentially on board or masonite with the old original gesso coating, together with oils with high linseed oil content, and finish with as many coats of varnish as I can put on to try to recreate the high gloss hard finish of, say, the 18th century.
The management of the motel has embraced the concept enthusiastically, realising the exhibition will provide an opportunity for local school children to study history and be a tourist attraction as well.
As you think from a gallery, you can have a coffee or a meal and view in comfort in a different environment, and it will provide, I hope, a genuine tourist attraction for people coming into the Manning Valley.
Alan Hartigan and Marie Brophy are the local government inspectors who, for the next week, or longer if necessary, will investigate how development applications have been dealt with by present and former councillors and staff. They'll assess administrative practices used and if pecuniary interest was involved. Should this be the case, all corruption matters will be forwarded to the ICAC. There are 6 developments under question, among them the Oceanside Residential Estate at Anna Bay, an indoor bowls centre at Saltash and the Shoal Bay Country Club expansion. All developments except Saltash were approved before the current council was elected last September. All attracted community concern, with objections passed on to the local government minister. Shire President Bob Horn says some of the projects would not have been passed by the current council and welcomes the investigation.
If there has been anything untoward happening with Port Stephens Council, I think it's very important. It clears the decks once and for all.
Do you expect them to find anything wrong, even corruption?
I couldn't answer that. I don't know.
The inspectors hope to have a draft report finished within the next few months. They'll then compile and present a final report of recommendations to Council and the local government minister. If changes to Council procedure are recommended, Council has 40 days to implement them. If it doesn't, the Council will have to answer to the minister.
With those words, Nick Greiner brought about the biggest change in state politics so far this decade. It's a change that prompted a mixed response on the streets of Newcastle.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that.
Good.
Why's that?
I don't like the man.
Local government in the Hunter has adopted a wait-and-see attitude to what John Fay's leadership will mean for this region. Yet no matter who's at the helm in Macquarie Street, Newcastle Lord Mayor John McNaughton remains unimpressed.
We've still got a lame duck government. Of course I'm worried about that, but the people of Newcastle are my preeminent concern, and I'll be doing all I can to see that what we have been promised, what's in the pipeline now, continues.
The Newcastle Chamber of Commerce praised Nick Greiner as a state leader who brought about a different way of looking at the city, a vision the Chamber hopes will continue under Mr Fay.
One would hope that with his leadership now that the emphasis that have been placed on the projects by Mr Greiner in regards to honeysuckle, in regards to port autonomy, in regards to the line being cut at Civic, that won't change and that he'll keep the emphasis on those to ensure that those projects become a reality.
Some community groups are hopeful that a change of leader means a change of heart in Macquarie Street's decision-making for Newcastle's most controversial issues. One of those issues, the cutting of the rail line at the Civic.
Hopefully he'll retain the rail to Newcastle and landscape the corridor.
In the New England area, Tamworth's independent MP Tony Windsor is confident the Fay government won't end plans for a new police station and courthouse in his city. Mr Windsor says while it's early days, it's unlikely there'll be great changes to the relationship between the North West and Parliament House. Scott Bevan, NBN News.
It really is a great sense of not being able to do anything constructive, you know. There's a lot where I'd like to contribute to society and work, and I just can't do that.
1 million unemployed in Australia. To many politicians, it's a statistic. To people like Andy Pointer, it means deprivation, at times despair.
You can't afford to take your children out anywhere or anything like that, you're just confined all the time.
Andy has a wife, 3 kids, and no job. He was one of 20 unemployed men who attended a seminar at Charlestown's Victory Baptist Church today. The seminar's aim was to give the emotional support that government agencies perhaps can't provide.
A lot of personal relational problems that come out of unemployment. Marital stress, family stress, individual stress, the whole loss of self-esteem and dignity. So a program like this is aimed at addressing some of those problems.
The unemployed say it's this kind of support that's sorely needed.
Just because they're unemployed doesn't mean that they're not loved, and that's more important than anything else, knowing that you're still a human being and there's still people who are going to be with you even when you haven't got any money.
But today's participants hope the seminar will lead to what they all desperately want.
A job. I'd love to have one.
I'd like to have one in next week, hopefully.
Scott Bevan, NBN News.
The students from Gifu Agricultural College are in the country for only 5 days, and they're making every post a winner.
They came to Australia to see Tokala and see what we do, because we do very similar things to what they do on their farm and also in their courses.
The visitors are overawed by the great space for farming and the cost of property. In Japan, a good hectare of agricultural land costs about $400,000, compared with $12,000 in Australia. While the students know how to grow vegetables and rice, dealing with sheep is a new experience. And there aren't too many workers like this bloke in Japan. They'll spend the day sightseeing in Sydney tomorrow before flying home at the weekend.
Since fighting a battle through the courts to join the Knights in the Winfield Cup, Tony Kepper's been a fixture in the Kiwi side, playing 5/8 against the King and also in the centres. And Kepper's rapped about his selection once again for tests against the Kummels and the Poms.
I'm getting on a bit. I'm probably one of the veterans in the team with 13 tests up my sleeve, so every year you look at it a little bit differently, and with a little bit more experience I just can't wait till next week to get out there.
However, Kemp was disappointed that informed Sam Stewart and former rugby international John Schuster won't be in the side. But Kemp's mind is firmly on Sunday's clash with the Rabbits at Marathon Stadium, where a win and some favourable results could catapult the Knights into the 5.
Those 2 points are very vital now, with the 9 teams within 3 points of the top there. If we can win on Sunday against Southsea, we'll probably be in the top 5. So if we can keep that form going, 1990s revisited, and hopefully we can get in the 5 and probably bring the Winfield Cup back to Newcastle.
There's a lot of smoke coming out from underneath it, and just looking at them on the side there was a lot of the tyres were all burnt out and smouldering.
News of the local government inquiry came soon after a public rally outside Narrabri Shire Council chambers yesterday. A local government inspector will arrive on July 8th and interview both council staff, elected representatives and anyone else who wants to make a submission.
We requested that that department come up back in April, at the April meeting. We want them to know exactly what is going on in Narrabri.
The arrival of an 850-kilogram safe at the council chambers attracted some interest. It's being hired by the council for the next couple of weeks to ensure the safety of confidential documents.
It was hired at the instigation of myself on the advice of the investigating officer that was here yesterday.
It's believed the investigator Councillor O'Regan refers to is in fact a detective with the police force, although what he's been called in to investigate is unclear. Local hockey players were this morning testing out the new surface, just one of the grounds set for the estate. On hand to open the facility was Coffs Harbour Mayor John Smith and member for Coffs Andrew Fraser.
We have an opportunity here with the university going across the road and the football next door and the grounds with the motor sports up the road to keep this area here essentially a green area in the middle of Coffs Harbour.
The 200-hectare site is being developed by council with a football ground and stadium proposed as the next stage. Estimated cost so far exceeds the $70,000 mark, with State Hockey President Ken Cripso on hand to give his approval. Long-time worker for the Coffs Harbour Hockey Club, Merrill Brackey, was honoured with a life membership, while a few players from yesterday made their presence felt with a trip down memory lane. The past 2 days at Valor Park could be described as a learning experience. Teachers from small schools from Port Macquarie to the Queensland border spent the time exchanging techniques and attending lectures on small school curricula.
The teachers will go back to their schools with new ideas, reinforce old ideas, but basically enthused and energetic once again to continue the quality of education that they're giving at their small schools.
In a role-reversing exercise, teachers got a chance to see things from a student's perspective, with workshops ranging from simple marble games to robotics.
Being in a small school, they want to be there, they want the best of education for those children there, and they'll find solutions to the problems they come upon.
Hamilton opened the scoring with a penalty goal. But soon after, it was try time for the two Blues. A penalty goal followed soon after, but from then on, it was all Hamilton. The Wanderers were in all sorts of trouble trying to hold their ground in the scrums. Hamilton's big push and a great conversion. In the other games, Mayfield East too good for Waratah, Bullaroo beat Techport, Uni thrashed Maitland, and Singleton 16, Merriweather Carlton 9.
A sombre mood at the entertainment centre as the founder of the National Basketball League, Dr. John Rashke, was remembered. And then Michael Johnson got the show on the road. Shane Frolling and Grant Kruger exchanged elbows and jaws, while Johnson gave the Falcons an incredible 19-point lead. The Devils hit back, Hurst with a long 3, and coming off the bench, Wayne McDaniel a fine 2, and then a dunk. At the first change, the Falcons led by 11. Al Green, playing his 300th NBL match, stretched the lead before Sval Dennis and McDaniel cut the gap to 4 at the long break. Michael Johnson was on fire for the Falcons and they were out by 12. But old-timer Cal Bruton came off the bench to nail a 3 and give a great assist. And Stiff finally put the Devils in front. The final quarter belonged to the visitors. Sval Dennis threw a hole for 2, followed by super teamwork by the Apple Islanders. Wayne McDaniel continued to work wonders, and they really put the issue beyond doubt to run out winners 118-107.
Moree in white was out to retain its spot at the top of the first grade ladder. Their opponents, the Pirates, languishing in the cellar. Disrupted by injury, they made 6 changes. Moree had the better field position, but the Pirates scrambled in defence, a last-minute knockdown saving a certain try. Another 6 points went begging, Moree missing 2 penalty shots. But in the end, it was the weight of possession. Tamworth caught short on the right. The final score 12-3. In the other games, Tamworth beat Inverell, Walker hammered Narrabri, and Corindai 10, Barraba 6. They don't have a resident pro in Southwest Rocks, but the coastal village just north of Kempsey does boast some keen golfers. Enter Laurie Montague and his band of merry men and women. They travel the state conducting clinics. About 50 hardy souls headed for the course this morning. It was back to basics. Laurie's study in stance and paying great attention to grip. From the tee-off to the green, it was all covered.
What I'm hoping to achieve is to get people a little more interested in getting other people into golf in this area.
Buckets of balls were splayed all over the place. Laurie says it's important that golfers are groomed, not thrown in the deep end.
And of course what happens in that situation is a lot of people are drowning, basically. Yeah. So they lose interest and the clubs never grow and prosper.
From Newcastle, Port Macquarie and Kempsey they came. 12 bowlers qualified for the final. A further 8 were ousted and the 3 remaining went into the skins. And it was Wayne Bridge from Wingham who got the money after 11 frames. Bridge, the brother of former Balmain and East star Gary, beat Terry Marr from the Newcastle suburb of Katara. Both players have qualified for the grand final in Lismore on July 25th and 26th. St Clair's Catholic High School, the lads out to impress Mark Sargent and Steve Fulmer. The Knights make it their policy to travel to the far-flung corners of their kingdom. Sarge had a double headache, one obvious one above his right eye.
Yeah, I had a bit of a head clash with Jim Sedaris late in yesterday's game, so a few stitches, a few more for the ugly file.
And one over Test selection. With Glenn Lazarus and David Gillespie under an injury cloud, Sargent was told to stay near a phone. But that's happened before.
Unfortunately, none of them's worked out the way I would like, so I'm not getting my hopes up too far, but if it happens, I'll be more than pleased.
And once again, that phone didn't ring. Lazarus and Gillespie passed fit last night.